Boy, howdy. It is good to be back. Let me see if that flying taco is turned up yet. Foot reveal? Nah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who might be new around here, it's been a while, hasn't it? Oh, we have a green screen now. Isn't that nice? What's the name of this music? Why, here, I'll share it with you. I have an office now. We have studio lights. We've got a desk. We've got... I even got something to punish people. Wait, where did I put it? Where's my stick? Oh, wait, I know where it is. Hold on. So, we're no longer using a band hammer. We've evolved. We've evolved to a weapon that's from a more sophisticated age. Something to really put the fear in people. Set that off to the side. Hammers ain't good enough no more. Alright. Want to thank again the YouTube channel 4Tune for their non-copyrighted music. Okay, these boys are ready to go. Let's get this party started. Let's wait no longer. We are off to the Tower of Hoeth. Don't worry, I haven't forgot the screens there. I know a lot of people are about to start flipping tables. Oh, folks, it is good to be back. It is good to be back. Bam. So on this screen, you can kind of see the green screen a little bit. I'm still trying to get it finagled. I have a window over here that makes the light a little tricky. All right. So for today's first battle, we have Dov Plays versus Flying Taco, and it's Vampire Coast versus the Warriors of Chaos. So let's get started. Hope you're all doing well. I'll have to keep finagling with this. Is it this side? It's this side. Green screens are tricky. They're finicky creatures. I'll scoot over a little more this way so I'm blocking that thing. There we go. Alright, let's get started. So, beginning with Dov's army, we have, looks like 3 units of zombie pirate gunnery mobs with handguns, one of which is the Black Spot, the Regiment of Renown with their anti-large armor-piercing melee attacks. Then we've got 3, 4, 5 units of zombie pirate deckhand mobs with pole arms. Then we've got the Gallows Giant, the Regiment of Renown, who I hear has been making quite the waves lately. Then we've got 3 units of Fellbats to mess with people nice and heavily. Then we've got a Carronade. We've got the Lamprey's Revenge, Regiment of Renown over here, with their high regen and their excellent stat line, along with their blunderbusses, or hand cannons rather. And then we've got Count Noctilus over here. It looks like he's got the usual spiel of just all the summons and Wraithstorm. Meanwhile, over on Flying Taco's side, who's just fresh off a game in Turin's Clan War tournament, he's got 2 units of Chaos Trolls. Looks like we've got a mix of Chosen and Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Looks like it's 4 Warriors with great weapons, 1 Chosen with great weapons. Then we've got Archaon the Everchosen on foot leading the way with Flamestorm, Fireball, and Cascading Firecloak. And it looks like he's got the Slayer of Kings. Then we've got a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth in the back and 3 units of Chaos Warhounds, one of which is normal with 2 chevrons and 2 of which are poisoned. So, let's get this party started. There is quite a bit of forest cover that provides some nice incentive for the Warriors of Chaos to come around from the side here, but Dov's army also doesn't rely heavily on a ton of long-range shooting. He only has a single carronade. And if Chaos goes too heavily on this side, that's actually going to make life a little easier for Dov as far as building up a adequate defense onto one flank. That could kind of be the tricky part about this map. Is a lot of people kind of fall for deploying really heavily in this forest, and when they do that, they don't have this flank available a lot of the time because they go so heavy on this side. And it can be difficult to make good use of it, especially with Dov having those Fellbats that are going to allow him to get some really good scouting done. But in any event, we are off to the races. So the carronade is already opening fire, and I'm guessing it looks like it's just going to go straight to these Warriors of Chaos. Oh, that one did. First two didn't really. Only 3 models, 1 per cannonball. That's a good trade for Chaos, but I imagine the second volley is probably not going to be quite that inaccurate. Looks like we've already got the Gallows Giant marching up to start pumping flame into these guys. It does do quite a bit of armor-piercing damage. And the Gallows Giant is finally working now, which is quite nice. I hope you're all doing well. I've missed you guys. I really have. I'm super excited for the announcement of the Lizardman DLC. I can't wait to talk about it when they announce it. I'm so excited to see what all it's going to have. Hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer. Alright, Flying Taco has done a really nice job here of wrapping pretty much all the way around the flanks. I don't know if Dov has noticed much of the, like, hounds. I think the hounds are hidden, despite the fact that there are bats potentially scouting out. But here we do see the first volley come in from the Gallows Giant, and it does do pretty good damage. Looks like it maybe dropped 4 models from this unit here. Cannon's still firing. It's getting some damage, but looks like Flying Taco is actually managing to juke a lot of those shots. And Archaon has wasted no time. He's just getting right up in this thing's face. Which, understandably, I mean, if he runs up here and he pops the Slayer of Kings, he can actually put quite the beating on the Gallows Giant with very little risk to himself. It's not that great at dealing with individual models. Here we do see that the Chaos Warhounds have arrived in the back line, and they are beelining for this carronade, and I don't think Turn's going to see it in time, unless they just kind of stop, but it looks like they are going all in. Looks like the Fellbats are trying to respond in time, but it's going to be too little too late. That carronade, there's no way that carronade's going to stay online. Just because it won't break and then come back, it'll just take a lot of leadership damage and probably shatter unless Noctilus throws a heal on it. He does go ahead and spend a summon, though, which is actually good for Chaos to go ahead and get a summon spent way over there, far away from him. Here we do see the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth jumps on the Gallows Giant, and that duel has begun. Meanwhile, the Chaos Trolls are up against some Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs and the Lamprey's Revenge, which is not a bad fight for them. We do see a lot of guns here are getting some really good crossfire on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, but it looks like we've got a rain of fire here coming down the black spot. Look at that damage! Half the unit just gone. So that really good damage on that regiment around. Here we see the Warriors of Chaos front line has deleted the Vampire Coast front line. All those great weapons are going to make mincemeat out of these zombies and just cut through them super fast. Meanwhile, in the back line, it looks like the carronade did get that heal they needed to get back online, but we have Chaos Trolls showing up all over the place in support of the Warriors of Chaos. We've got Chosen here, backed up by Chaos Trolls, who are just barfing on zombies to bring them down. It looks like one just got snipped there by a crab. Meanwhile, back here, though, We do have the Gallows Giant taking quite a bit of damage. He gets clipped by a fireball. You figured this guy would have really good flame resistance, but he actually has really bad flame weakness, which is kind of funny. Oh no, that was due to the Lore of Fire attribute. I was gonna say, I was like, why would he have flame weakness? Looks like he's trying to get some distance between him and the Shaggoth, but I don't know if there's really a lot he can do. Looks like he does have an upgraded invocation in the heck on him, and Noctilus is here on this Shaggoth, who is being staggered by the flamethrower attack. If they can actually break this Shaggoth, that would allow the Gallows Giant to pull back to safety. But that is a pretty dangerous scenario. Ooh, it's going to be really, really close, but looks like gunfire is coming in. That is almost certainly going to break the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Yep, and he is out of there, and he is taking tons of damage, and he's dead! Wow, he just goes down when Noctilus just hits him in the side. But things are still looking pretty dicey for the Vampire Coast, as the Warriors of Chaos Infantry are just chewing their way through the entire army with impunity. Like, they do not even care. The Lamprey's Revenge are still in really good shape and holding nicely, but the Carronade was taken offline by gunfire. The Gallows Giant is trying to heal, but eats another nasty fireball, and he's getting really close to his healing cap. He is so close to it, like the danger zone. And there are dogs and trolls everywhere. Here we do see trolls coming in on the Lamprey's Revenge, just starting to slam on people. Oh, did I say Turin? Sorry. Dov versus Flying Taco. I have Turn on the mind. I was watching the entire clan event, but in any event, Dov's Vampire Coast is struggling to kind of get an upper hand here. Oh, man, Lamprey's Revenge is actually super spread out. They're here fighting all these units at once, and they're actually winning in this engagement. Over here, we do see that Noctilus is dueling against Archaon, which Archaon does have the Slayer of Kings up, but he gets slapped over pretty hard by that Wraithstorm. And Archaon is taking a ton of damage in this engagement. Noctilus does have a fully upgraded heal, and if I were Archaon, I would not really even worry about that. This Gallows Giant needs to come down. Noctilus, you gotta really save him until last. He's just such a powerhouse. He fights so dirty. These Chaos Trolls do get in here and try and accomplish something, but the moment they get involved, they immediately rout due to those swarming Fellbats and their really, really poor leadership. Not to mention a Terror Causer being right there. And Archaon's actually starting to look kind of dicey. Chaos had this situation really well under control, but the Lamprey's Revenge still has a ton of health. They have all 9 models, and the Lamprey's Revenge has just been slowly but surely beating their way through all of this Chaos Infantry, and I don't really think Chaos has what it's going to take to bring down Noctilus and the Gallows Giant at this point. The Chaos Trolls have broken, and they have Fellbats on them, so they're not going to rally, because those Fellbats are just going to keep pursuing them. All of the Chaos Warriors are starting to break, and they're being hit by this discouraging, armor-piercing fire. And there's nothing threatening the Gallows Giant at this point. Archaon has really, really low health, and he doesn't have a sustainable way to heal. Noctilus is doing tons and tons of damage. And I really think that the Lamprey's Revenge, with their armor-piercing hand cannons and their very high armor-piercing melee attacks, were just able to completely halt this flank. Noctilus and the Gallows Giant were able to bully and defeat Archaon in a one-on-one fight. And yeah, I just don't think Archaon's going to be able to pull this out by himself. You know, he's only running around on infantry. There's only so much he can do. Noctilus is still getting all his summons. He has a massive advantage in the balance of power now. He does have aid coming in. There is a full health unit of Chosen coming in, which I think are like the only thing holding the balance of power right now. But if the Lamprey's Revenge turn around and come after these guys, that could be serious trouble. We do see that Noctilus is getting off even more summons to try and delay the Chosen, while the Gallows Giant looks like he's trying to run away as fast as he can. But here we see a flank charge coming in from the Lamprey's Revenge, and sure enough, the Gallows Giant turns around and Scorch. That's interesting. That kind of hits the ground and does like 3 little explosions. That Discourage Aura is going to make the Chosen rout. So, man, Noctilus is just, man, he's way too strong. Noctilus is just so strong. So, really good game from Flying Taco. He had a really strong opening there. He managed to get into the back line. The Shaggoth jumped on the Gallows Giant and was putting in some really good work. But the Trolls seemed like they really underperformed and just broke and ran. And the instant they ran, Dov jumped on him with those fell bats, and those fell bats did not give them an instant to respond. Like, those fell bats were all over those trolls, so they didn't get the advantage of running out and rallying with their regen. They just kind of got clobbered, and then they got sent off, and they never came home. So with that, we have Dov plays. Moving on to the semis. All right, next up, we have a very loud Carnosaur roar in my ear. It's what we have next. Home Slicer donating $10. It says, thank you, Sotek. Love what you do. Appreciate stream videos. Thanks, brother. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. All right, so next up is Sarmatian versus Darth Aristo, also known as Aristodamos. All right. Okay, we got Sarmatian in here. Now I need... Okay, and the next map we're going to is Pillar of Bone. Pillar, 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 pillar. There it is. Yeah, flying, that was crazy. I was not expecting Noctilus to beat the crap out of Arcan like that. Like, you pop Slayer of Kings, and then Noctilus just beat him up. It's like, Jesus Christ. I really hope he gets slapped with the Nerf hammer. Like, either he should be a good summoner, or he should be a good fighter, but not both. That's just too much. He's a good fighter, and he's really tanky, and he's a summoner, and he has, like, special bombardment powers. He's just crazy. Alright, we just gotta get Aristodemos in here. Hopefully he's around. Uh-oh, it says he's offline. One second. If he's not around, I do have a backup player ready to go. I will give him precisely 2 minutes. Oh wait, no, there he is. Awesome. All right, we are all set. So we've got Wood Elves versus Tomb Kings. Wait, is it Tomb King? No, Dark Elves. Wood Elves versus Dark Elves. He just had Tomb King selected. So we got Elf Civil War. The best kind. Because elves it means only elves are going to die, which is ideal. And just a reminder for anyone watching, the big rule about this tournament is that lists have to be submitted to me before the tournament starts. You get to submit a single list, and then you have to play that list for every game through the entire tournament without knowing what maps you're going to be playing on or who your opponent is or what army your opponent is bringing. So it's kind of, the reason I call it a tabletop tournament is it was like when you would show up to a tabletop tournament. Because when you played Warhammer Fantasy tabletop, you would just show up to your local store and they would randomize who you'd fight. So you had to bring an all-comers list for tabletop. You never were able to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna, you never would show up with your like army and be like, all right, I'm playing Lizardmen, my opponent's playing High Elves, let me write a list down real quick. No, none of that here. How Alive or Coast Zombies? Do they play cards and dice below deck when they aren't working? Unlikely. Coast Zombies only work. They have a vague semblance of their prior life, like following the brain function of what they need to do to keep things running. but that's about it. they're not like complex individuals. All right, so let's go ahead and start with Sarmatian's Wood Elves. We've got 1 unit of deep, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We got 3 units of Deepwood Scouts, 2 units of Way Watchers. We've got 2 units of Dryads, 3 units of Eternal Guard, 1 unit of Wild Riders. Then we've got a Glade Lord on a Dragon with Prey of Anathrema and Arrow of Kurnos. Then we've got a Branch Wraith with Regrowth, Earthblood, there we go. And Withering. And then we've got a single unit of Eternal Guard, 2 units of Wild Riders. Meanwhile, and 2 units of Eternal Guard. There we go, he keeps moving everything around. And then meanwhile, on the Dark Elf side of things, we have 4 units of Cold One Knights. We've got 2 units of Doomfire Warlocks, one of which is Slaaneish's Harvesters. Then we've got a Supreme Sorceress of Death leading the army, who just has Spirit Leech. A Beast Sorceress on foot, who just has she has the magic generating item, the Darkstar Cloak, and the Transformation of Caden. 2 units of Cold One Chariots, 2 units of Bleak Swords, and 2 units of Dark Shards. So both armies have a decent amount. The Dark Elves definitely are going super heavy in the maneuverability game. And the Wood Elves brought a ton of shooting. I think this is going to be difficult for the Wood Elves. That much cav is certainly going to be pretty dangerous when it comes to dealing with just like loads of skirmishers, because the skirmishers are not going to be able to outrun them super well. There's only 1 Prey of Anathrema available, but we'll have to see. So it looks like the Way Watchers have opened fire on the Cold One Chariots, and looks like they chunked its health down by about a 1/3. The Deepwood Scouts in the meantime are opening fire on the Bleak Swords and do a fair amount of damage despite the Silver Shields, because Silver Shields will only protect you so much. Here it looks like they did a little bit of a better job of facing the right direction and mitigating a fair amount of the damage. Over here we see the Way Watchers firing into the Cold One Knights, who it looks like Aristodemos is doing a pretty nice job of kind of cycling his troops in. Looked like he's trying to give the Wood Elves different targets so that they don't just focus something down and nuke it to the point that it's useless. Here we do see the Way Watchers are trying to harass the Doomfire Warlocks a little bit, though the Way Watchers don't do magic damage, so they are able to mitigate a fair amount of that health. We do see the first Manticore summon going down there, which could easily harass the Glade Lord, though it would probably lose that in a straight-up fight. But it could also just kind of land amongst this crowd here, though if it gets too close to these archers and takes a volley, it will almost certainly rampage. Probably instantly. Here it looks like the Supreme Sorceress is coming in for a Spirit Leech on the Glade Lord, though it looks like she backs off before she ends up casting it. And looks like the main fighting has begun. We get a really nice charge over here from these Cold One Chariots, who just sort of plow through these not braced Eternal Guard, who look like they're trying to chase off the Dark Shards. The Wild Riders do come down the hill and get a pretty nice charge into these Bleak Swords, getting a little bit of a flank angle. Another group charges down here to stop the Cold One Knights from capturing the Way Watchers. But they do eat a ton of damage, though a Earthblood goes down to try and mitigate some of it. The Way Watchers are firing everything they have, and a really nice poisonous Dragon Breath coming in from the Glade Lord does a fair amount of damage. But unfortunately for the Way Watchers, the Doomfire Warlocks are immediately jumping into the mess to try and take advantage of the confusion. Here, it looks like the Wood Elves are making a stand in the forest, which is a wise place to do so, but Slaaneish's Harvesters run in and drop a very, very nice Soul Stealer on all these units, which the Way Watchers especially don't have that many unit models, so they actually take a ton of damage. Between the Slaaneish's Harvester's natural damage and the Soul Stealer, we see the second Manicore has gone down, and the Wood Elves are just completely and utterly surrounded. They are being torn apart. All of the Deepwood Scouts are already offline. Both the Way Watcher units are offline. The Branch Wraith is being Spirit Leeched. The front line is completely collapsed. I don't think there's a whole lot Sarmation can do in this scenario. And it looks like Sarnation has gone ahead and handed off the battle. And that's a big danger of these games. For anyone that's curious about how I determine the matchups, I literally roll dice. I bring into my room a set of D8, a D6, D4, and I roll a bunch of dice to figure out who's gonna fight who, and that's how it goes. So people will show up with builds, and sometimes your build works, and sometimes, you know, the Wood Elves in this case literally ended up just through a luck of the draw. The Wood Elves ended up against a counter build, just all that heavy cav, shielded units, like wasn't really a whole lot they could do, just a nasty shutdown. Sarmation did a really good job of blocking the initial onslaught, but he only had so many units to try and thwart all of these cav units. And I mean, when you have what, 7 units to hold off 8 units of cav, what are you gonna do? And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's why it's so tricky to try and bring an all-comers list, because you might go up against someone who brings a nasty list that's really laser focused on a certain build. But good job to both players. What the hell did you miss? We're going into game 3. Greetings to you, Lone Master Sotek. This is from Long Beach, California. This is Hugh. How am I? I'm good. I'm good. How are y'all doing over there in Cali? Texas is humid right now. I can tell y'all that much. So I'll let those two chat for a second before I boot them out while I go ahead and gather our next competitors, he says as he remembers to update the score sheet. So we have Aristo moving up to fight against Darth Aristo moving up to fight against Dov. There we go. I'm rusty, chat. I am so rusty. So next up, we've got Zyphost versus Reginald. All right. So let me ping both of them. We'll keep things moving. Reginald Puppington, I should say. Puggington. Not Puppington, Puggington. Alright, and we are off to the next map, which we are now going to Lienguel, Fair Bretonia. Hopefully we'll get both of them in here in just a moment. I see Zypho, so I can invite him. Reginald I definitely don't have. So hopefully he'll be here in a moment. I put the password on the Discord. I stubbed my toe. Please kill me. Sorry to hear that, St. Augustine. Hang in there, brother. My leg got torn up pretty bad last night. I was over a friend's place, and they have a lab puppy, and she gets a little too excited sometimes. All right, so for this matchup, we have the Wood Elves versus, let me double check. We have the Wood Elves versus the Vampire Counts. I think this is actually the most Wood Elves we've ever had for the tabletop tournament. Wood Elves, like, I think only showed up once prior to this week. Alright, and we go. My birthday is April 12th. Would be a funny coincidence if the DLC released then. I'm betting we get a trailer at first. It'll release probably around the 23rd. Oh, you think it would be the 23rd of April? I could see that. I could see late April being potential for the DLC release. I hope they don't wait too long on it, because I don't want it, you know, I don't think anybody wants it to compete with Three Kingdoms. So I hope there's at least a good month between the Lizardman Skaven DLC and the Three Kingdoms release. So are y'all excited for the video script I finished writing? Over 22,000 words. 40 pages of script. And it's not even the entire script. There's a part at the end I have to ad-lib. I've been working on that for Carrick 8 Peaks Weeks is about to happen. It's finally happening. I need the what's his face, the it's happening gif. In any event, let's get into some armies here. So for the Wood Elves from Xiphos, we've got 2 units of Sisters of the Thorn. We've got 4 units, yep, of Way Watchers, which this is the max you can do, is right, this little group here. We've got 5 units of Glade Guard, some of which are, looks like 2 of which have Hagbane tips, 3 of which are normal. And then for the command structure, if they'll stop moving around for a second, we've got a Glade Lord with Prey of Anathrema. We've got a Spellsinger of Beasts with Amber Spear, Transformation of Caden, and a Power Stone. And then we've got another one over here with a Power Stone and Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma. Lot of shooting. Meanwhile, over here on the Vampire Count side, it is a smorgasbord of units. I don't think there's 2 of anything. You got the Dire Pack. We've got Skeleton Spearmen. We've got a Terrorgeist. We got 2 units of Fellbats. We got the Konigstein Stalkers. We've got Blood Knights. We've got the Stearnsmen. We've got another unit of Skeleton Spearmen. Varric Reavers. A Black Coach. And another unit. Is that the 3rd unit of Skeleton Spearmen? Yes. And then up in the air, we've got the Red Duke on a Pegasus. Haven't seen the Red Duke in a while. Most of the time, people end up taking the Blood Dragon Lord. So nice to see the named king back. All right, so we've got a massive shooty kitey force versus Vampire Counts that are just going to be just running right at him. Now, we do play by King's Cup rules here, so there does need to be some form of engagement by both sides. As long as Xiphos has ammo, he has the ability to pew-pew to his heart's content without getting too heavily engaged. But taking a build like this, I am definitely going to be harsh when it comes to the instant he's out of ammo, I expect him to be involved. But, oh no! Looks like Reginald fell for the classic. He gets Prey of Anathrema, eats 2 full volleys, and he's dead. So, unfortunately, the Red Duke did not make it too far. That is an unfortunate starting. And then here, the Black Coach tries to gain vengeance, but a curse. He just says, "Welp, GG." We do see the Black Coach tries to claim vengeance, gets slapped with a Curse of Honor here for its trouble, and it's already down to about 45% of its health. Over here, the Blood Knights are unfortunately facing their shields the wrong way, so they take a nice volley in the butt. The Way Watchers have expended about 15 to 20% of their ammo. Ooh. Oopsie. Oopsie is right, chat. Oopsie is 100% right. Here we do see the Sternsmen manage to mitigate a fair amount of damage. I really don't know if there's much the Vampire Counts can do. Really, the only thing they could do is just probably charge all of their Cavan on this pocket with the Fellbats and the Terrorgeist and just go ham. Just like Hail Mary, try and take this out. But moving your general forward against an all-shooting army, you don't want to do that. And for anyone that's panicking, don't worry. One of the things that I find really interesting about this tournament, and the reason I run this tournament the way I do, is to see what kind of builds end up dominating the meta, to see what kind of meta develops. Is it going to be different than traditional competitive play? Here we do see the Fellbats and the Dire Pack do dive in to try and get in a kill. Unfortunately, there's another Curse of Anra here just waiting to gobble them up. And it goes about as well as could be expected. There's not a lot of melee units in this army, but with the Curse of Anra here providing a lot of that defensive support, and the Sisters of the Thorn having are not slackers in melee. They're pretty competent melee units, as are the Way Watchers when push comes to shove. We do see the Vampire Counts have managed to dive in, and they are doing some damage. They're catching a few units, but most of the army is falling apart, and it just ends up disintegrating super early just because there's not a general holding up the leadership. Where do you find the rules Turn and Sotek are using? We use what's called the King's Cup rules. They're from Shetland Apache. And yes, that was a brutal match. That was a brutal, brutal match. I don't really think there was any way Reginald could have survived it. But you definitely, whenever you see your opponent has a lot of shooting, you gotta keep your general in the very back. You gotta keep them in the back. Wait till you lure out that first Prey of Anathrema, then you can go in. When Prey of Anathrema is on the field, you gotta play defensively. Like, you gotta match to your opponent's side. That matches every single thing I've ever had. Oh, man. Yeah, but if you're ever fighting Wood Elves, don't engage with your general. You gotta wait until an opportunity opens up. Alright, so we are on to dealing with... Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and boot both of these kind gentlemen. We are on to game 4, which is going to be the Gabo King versus Outer Region. So we got a new face versus an old face here. And that could be meant in multiple ways. Which one of these is Zyphos? There you are. So pretty brutal build from Zyphos. We'll have to see if one of these individuals has something that can counter it. Alright, and we're off to the final map for this stage. So we are off to... Let's see, I think they played there a lot in Turns tournament, so let's not go there. Let's go to Iron Mountain Pass. This is a fun one. And for this one, we've got Greenskins, specifically the Crooked Moon tribe versus the Skaven. So we've got a matchup of the underground baddies for this one. Alright, let's start with the rats. So for outer region, we've got 2 units of gutter runners with poison slings. We've got a unit of death runners. 2 units of Skaven slave slingers. We've got 1, 2, 3 units of Skaven slaves with spears. 2 warp lightning cannons. 1 unit of storm vermin with sword and shield. 2 units of storm vermin with halberds. Then it looks like we've got 2 units of clan rats, no shields. Then we've got, for leadership, we've got Lord Skrolk with Wither, Vermintide, and both of his items. And then we also have an assassin who's got Assassin's Trophy and his concealment bomb. Meanwhile, for the Gobbo King, he is bringing his namesake hard and heavy. We've got 2 units. I'm pretty sure there's more than that, actually. We've got at least 4 units of Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. We've got the Teef Rabbas over in this corner. Meanwhile, on the front line, we've got another 2 units of Goblin Wolf Chariots. We've got a Night Goblin War Boss on his Squig with the Tormentor Sword and his defensive buff, which I can't for the life... Spite of Bad Moon, there we go. Then we've got 3 units, of Nasty Skulkers. No, 4 units of Nasty Skulkers. We've got 1 unit of Night Goblins. 1, 2, 3 units of Night Goblin Archers, one of which is the Rusty Errors. We've got a Night Goblin Shaman with Itchy Nuisance, Morkel Fixit, and Vindictive Glare, along with his Wand of Jet and his mushrooms, Madcap Mushrooms. And then we've got a single unit of Trolls. So pretty crazy diverse, but all Goblin-themed army. Goblins and Goblin friends, so no orcs. So this is gonna get crazy. Oh yeah, and there's a Warlock Engineer over here who has, he has the Tornado. Howling Warpgale. Alright, it has started. The Greenskins are coming in from every which way, and the Skaven are going to have to react pretty quickly, especially to this back flank over here. Looks like the Skaven have not yet sighted it. So their units are visible now. The Warp Lightning Cannons, though, are starting to turn. Oh, that was weird. There was like, oh, okay, I see. When I hold down space, it shows where they're trying to go. I don't think the Skaven have noticed these units yet. It looks like they just now noticed them. The Night Goblin Squig Hoppers do get a charge into those slings, who do throw down nets, so they don't take as much damage as they would. Skaven Slave Slingers get hit over here. The Teef Robbers hit into the Skaven Slave Slings. We see the first Vermintide summon go down. It looks like most of the Goblins are going to fall back and get ready for another charge. Up in the front, we have the Goblins coming in from every which direction. Meanwhile, more units are swinging around from this back flank. Warp Lightning Cannons are trying to hit these chariots, but it looks like they're kind of having a hard time, despite the fact that they're shooting almost directly downhill at them. It almost seems like that's making it harder for them, surprisingly. Over here, we do see the Teef Rabbas are getting swarmed pretty badly by all these Skaven Slave Slingers, but they are still managing to just, or Skaven Slave Spears, excuse me, but it looks like they are still kind of managing to muck things up. Here we see another charge go in from the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, but they do get hit by the by nets from these slingers over here, which will slow down and make their charge a little less meaningful. Wah has been popped, and it looks like we're about to start seeing our opening Vindictive Glares. An Overcast one goes down. It actually knocks Skrolk over, so not all of them hit. It does a decent amount of damage, but not as much as I would expect from an Overcast version. But still, Skrolk's definitely going to be feeling that. Here we do see that the front lines have met, and although Storm Vermin are very, very skilled, they are quite vulnerable to heavy armor piercing, which the Greenskins have brought in spades. Over here, the Storm Vermin with sword and shields will definitely hold out okay, but especially because they've got the support of the Warlock Engineer, who is draining the A-Peak Loonies over here, which are the Fanatic Regiment of Renown. But the Trolls are coming in, and the Trolls are going to have an ugly charge right here. This will be a beauty shot. And goodbye. Yeah, those Storm Vermin are definitely not going to be having a good time. Here we see that this flank has completely collapsed for the Skaven. So is the right flank. Only the center ground is holding up for the Skaven, but the rest of his army is just completely gone. The Goblin backline managed to twist things up, and then the Goblin frontline hit and just deleted everything. I don't see Skrulk. I wonder if he got Vindictive Glared again. He managed to avoid the first one. Yeah, he ate a second one. You can tell how low his health is, but the Skaven army just got ripped in half. Like, they just got torn to pieces. So unfortunate for Skrulk. Skrulk is such a good Lord Sniper, too, with his book. But the Gobos were on that. They did some good damage to Skrulk, got him to start pulling back, but I mean, the flanks, before Skrulk was even dealt with, the Warp Lightning Cannons just didn't have a good target in such a massive army of just garbage. But, man, yeah, and that front line, the Nasty Skulkers just tore it apart. So it's going to be really interesting to see those two armies go toe-to-toe, the Goblins and the Wood Elves. Great game to both players, though. The Skaven put up the best fight they could. I feel very strongly that the Skaven, like the Lizardmen, are in desperate, desperate need of a DLC. Because they really need some more tools. Alright, so these are your semi-finalists. So let's go ahead and move on to the next match, which is going to be Dov plays with his Vampire Coast against Darth Aristo with his Dark Elves. I had to think for a moment. So let me go ahead and message the two of them. So now we're going to see some more nastiness. Any update on future video? When you say future, do you mean future of, as in like the series? Or do you mean... future of as in like just what's coming soon? Yeah, no dwarves this week, which dwarves dominated pretty hard a few weeks back. Well, I say that. It's been a while since we've had one of these, actually. But man, I'll tell you what, guys. This Sunday edition is proving to be deadly. Alright, let's head off to Sylvania. We're heading to the excavation site. Sorry, I should stop shaking my leg. It's making my camera shake. I think Aristocratic, though, is gonna have a hard time with all of those pole arms he's gonna have to fight. I thought the excavation site was an Ostermark. It could be an Ostermark, but it's a Sylvania themed map. Sorry, that's what I meant. It's a spooky undead map. Sarmatian, you can't stop me. Just accept it. Alright, so in case you missed the initial matches, I'll go ahead and go over the armies real quick once more. Great Book of Grudges, when it's done, man. That's going to be the answer to every single one of those. When it's done. Or soon TM. It's not going to get more specific than that. Water break. Be sure to stay hydrated, guys. It's good for you. Michael, I'm glad you enjoy it. Great Book of Grudges, I will say, sooner than you probably think. You know how you can tell it's really humid in Texas today? it like smells bad. Anyway, so we'll start with the Aristodemos' army. He's got 2 units of Bleak Swords, 2 units of Dark Shards with shields, 4 units of Cold One Knights, 2 units of Doomfire Warlocks, one of which is the Regiment of Renowned Slaanesh Harvesters, 2 units of Cold One Chariots. Then we have 2 Wizards. We have a Supreme Sorceress on a Dark Steed with Death, and all she has is Spirit Leech. And then we have a Sorceress on foot of Beasts, who has the Darkstar Cloak and the Transformation of Caden. Meanwhile, over on the Vampire Coast side with Dov Plays, not Turin, Dov Plays, we have 5 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with polearms. We have 3 with just regular Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs. We've got Count Noctilus with his usual build of Summon and Heals. A single Carronade. We've got the Gallows Giant. 3 Gunnery Mobs, one of which is the Black Spot Regiment of Renown. 3 Fellbats. We've got the Lamprey's Revenge, who were definitely the MVPs last game. And that's it. Who are you rooting for in chat? Everyone is Turin smurfing in disguise. I'm hoping for a DLC announcement next week. That would be nice. Do you think we will get a Dwarf Zeppelin in Game 3 like the Thunder Barge? I do not think it is impossible. I think there is a reasonable chance we could see the Thunder Barge. Because although it is quite large, if someone had asked me if they were going to put Morghuls or Necrofix Colossi in the game, or Chaos Mammoths, I would have said, hell no, they're too big or they're too exotic. And then they did it, so I'd say anything's on the table. I think we're just waiting for everybody to get into positions. I'll tell you what, the thing I like about this format is just how quick everything is. Parge, large, and in charge. Alright, and we're off. So the Carronade is in range of the Bleak Sword, so it's probably going to go ahead and open fire real quick. The Dark Elves do have a nice situation set up here on this left flank if they could take advantage of it. Though it is gonna be tricky because the meat of the Vampire Coast army is right back here on this right flank, which is gonna be a little dangerous to get to. The Doomfire Warlocks are hidden in a very, very nice position. If they can actually get Dov to start swinging his army around, which he's doing right now, if they can get him to swing his whole army out and come down here to engage on this part of the field down here, these Slaanesh Harvesters will be able to spring into action and tear apart this range contingent back here, which would be so useful. Here we do see the Fellbats are getting pinged a little bit, but it looks like the Slaanesh Harvesters have been spotted. Or not the Slaanesh Harvesters, but the regular Doomfire Warlocks. And they're going to get a really nicely timed rear charge into the Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with polearms. They do manage to crash into them before they braced, and they're getting charged in the other rear by the double Cold One Chariots, so they're going to take a ton of damage. And if without Noctilus's leadership support here, this unit's crumbling. They're going to have to do a lot of damage to get them to shatter, though. Undead units tend not to fall apart until they are super, super low. Over here, though, we do see the Carronade get smashed into by the Slaanesh Harvesters. I think Dov may have intentionally been trying to bait this, but we'll see what he does. It looks like his micro is focused over here for the moment as he's moving his units over to engage here. I don't know if he's noticed the Carronade being under attack, but we'll see here in a second, because Noctilus doesn't seem to be too bothered to respond. Here, though, we do see the Dark Shards have gone in range of the Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob, and they will easily win this matchup. Because they have shields, these guys don't, and while these guys sure have armor-piercing missiles, these guys shoot very, very fast and do a ton of damage, even though I don't think their range is as long. Here, we do see the first Manticore summon goes down, but it looks like the Fellbats are all over that and are moving into position. And what the heck? Oh, that's the bolt from the Slaanesh Harvesters. Or from the regular Doomfire Warlocks. That took me a moment. I was like, what is that spell? So here we do see that the Manticore is being swarmed, but the Dark Shards are providing some nice support. If they could wipe out these Fellbats, that would be super useful, because the Fellbats are just a really strong utility unit. Here we do see Noctilus looks like he's abandoning the Carronade, which kind of makes sense. The Carronade isn't really going to get a ton of value against this Dark Elf army, in my opinion. The Cold One Knights are doing a really good job of just kind of staying out of the fray. Aristo is doing a really nice job of only sending in things as needed, so he's not kind of dealing with a situation where his guys are going to get gunned down or rampaged and get, you know, thrown into all these zombie pirate deckhand mobs with polearms. Here we do see the Slaanesh Harvesters run back into battle, but unfortunately they do get attacked by these summons, and oh, this is potentially going to do a ton of damage. That wasn't too bad, actually. The Carronade has shattered, so these guys are going to get the hell out of dodge because this unit is essentially worthless so long as they run away from it. And it looks like we do see the second Manticore summon, which has dived down. Look how much damage the Lamprey's Revenge has taken. They've lost a unit model, and they've just eaten so much damage from the Dark Shards. I mean, considering the Cold One Spears haven't even gotten engaged yet, if they could get rid of the Lamprey's Revenge, that would be a huge catch. Like, that would even be worth it from the sense of popping a Spirit Leech on them and keeping those Dark Shards focused on them and just trying to do as much damage as possible. Here we do see another volley comes in, killing off another 2 models. That is devastating. Those are worth so many points. Here we do see the Cold One Knights have swung far around the flank, and it looks like they're preparing to surround the Gallows Giant, who does have Word of Pain popped on him, so his melee attack is basically 0. I mean, it is 8, and because it has a Discourage ability, he will still do leadership damage, even if he's not directly hitting people, just because it's just the effect. But the Cold One Knights are swarming in full peel. Here we see the Black Spot eating a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy. Lamprey's Revenge over here are disintegrating very quickly. Their regen is managing to keep up, but if Dov wants to keep these alive, he needs to pop an Invocation of Nehek on them right now. Because if they take even a hint more damage, then they're gonna shatter. But I mean, look at this. They still haven't shattered. They're just crumbling. And they're down to 250 health in 1 unit model. Crazy. But in any event, Lamprey's Revenge is pretty much off. We do see a bunch of these Cold One riders have swarmed in against the Gallows Giant, and there's a Soul Stealer, and there's a Soul Blight. So this guy is just taking a ton of damage. His stats are super nuked. Invocation is over there and not on the Lamprey's Revenge, who do still have 4 unit models left. Over here, we do see that the Slaanesh Harvesters and a Bodyguard unit are running around with the Sorceress, trying to find really interesting openings, probably trying to find a way to get to the Black Spot and shut them down. Lamprey's Revenge is down to 2 models. Gallows Giant is down to about 50% health, but the Cold One Spear Riders do need to be careful. They have taken a fair amount of damage, and the Dark Shards are being pursued by infantry units, so they're not able to just shoot in here and support this melee. Here we do see a big, nice Spirit Leech go down on the Gallows Giant, but it is countered by a Overcast Invocation of the Heck, and I think the Lamprey's Revenge is dead. Yep, the Lamprey's Revenge is no more. Those crabs have been put out to pasture, or wherever you put out crabs. Down the toilet, I guess. But in any event, so the Gallows Giant is the only big heavy hitter left holding this army together besides Count Noctilus, which Count Noctilus is a big deal from a leadership perspective. And I heard a Blade Storm, but I didn't see it, so I'm not sure where it went off. Maybe it went back on one of these units here. We do see another Wraith Storm come in, doing some fair damage to Slaanesh Harvesters, as they have basically no armor and rely on their physical resistance to protect them. But we do see a really nice charge here from these Cold One Knights, getting into this large batch of zombie pirate deckhand mobs who are pretty vulnerable to them. But this Gallows Giant is still up and fighting. The Dark Shards, though, have been captured by the melee infantry units, which does put the Vampire Coast in a bit, or the Dark Elves in a bit of an awkward position. But we get a really nice triple charge here. Cold One Chariots one way, Supreme Sorceress another, and then the Cold One Knights another. We have a Spirit Leech once more contesting the Invocation of the Heck, as Dov is trying so hard to keep this Gallows Giant alive as just this big terror causer in his army, who of course does massive leadership damage with both his ranged and melee attack, which is just obnoxious. Here we do see him like walk into the battle, and sure enough, he causes leadership damage, which immediately results in a terror check. That is such an ugly combo, the Discourage and Terror combo, if you don't have Immune to Psych. But its health is getting low. It's almost to its healing cap, but if Aristodemos is going to have a chance at winning this battle, he has to kill this thing. Meanwhile, over here, we do see that the Beast Sorceress has been broken. Noctilus is continuing to maintain his Death Pit here, and the balance of power has actually started to swing significantly into Dov's favor, despite the fact that it really seemed like Aristo had this fight in the bag. But Dov's just been pouring all of his resources into the Gallows Giant, and the Gallows Giant is literally just walking back and forth through all these halberd units, and the Dark Elves rely so heavily on Cav with the build that they brought that they don't really have a good answer to all this. Here we see another Wraith Storm coming in on the Supreme Sorceress, which even for how fast she is as a Cav unit, she's not going to be able to get out of the way, and when it hits her, it stun locks her. So she wasn't moving too well. Noctilus runs up and smacks her in the behind with his halberd. So her health is basically gone. If she gets too close to a Terror Causer, she will break. Meanwhile, we do see that the Dark Elf army is rallying from literally every direction, trying to take this thing down. But in comes that Flamethrower doing a ton of damage, which is going to discourage them and count as taking damage from a shooting attack. They get close to the Terror Causer. Boom, Terror Cause. And with that, they shatter due to the Terror and Discourage combo. And that's game. Noctilus just bringing it in. Noctilus didn't really even do much that fight, other than he has a very significant impact on the balance of power when he has high health. The Gallows Giant, though, that Discourage aura plus Terror is such an ugly combo. Like he just waltzes in there and just starts spewing AoE fire everywhere. So you're taking minus leadership, plus you have a Terror Causer that immediately is going to break you off. And Berto, no, if you just get close to a Terror Causer and your leadership is low enough, you'll be terrified. You don't have to take damage from the Terror Causer to be terrified. Yeah, the only answer the Dark Elves had was they needed to rely on the Dark Shards, really. But they weren't able to survive it. They weren't able to handle just all that mass infantry coming around. All right. Next up is Gabo King. Oops. And Xiphos. Gabos versus Woodies. And we are off to... Let's head off to Karak Azgal. There's a mean list this week. Like, we've had some friendly list weeks, and we've had some ugly list weeks, and this is definitely an ugly week. People are throwing punches, man. People are throwing punches. I'll just invite Xiphos. If I can find him. Xiphos. Why is the invite friends feature not in alphabetical order? That bothers me immensely. All right, so we've got mass goblins versus all shooty. I don't know if the Wood Elves are going to have enough arrows, especially because the goblin, you have to remember, the goblin war boss on the Squig, whether he's mounted or on foot, he actually has a gold tier shield. And I think Spite of the Bad Moon actually gives him increased missile parry with shields, if I remember correctly. So this could actually be really hard for the Wood Elves, potentially. I mean, there are certain things like the chariots and the the trolls that'll just like evaporate, but we'll have to see. Yeah, it's a battle of really high shields versus... oh, he has gold shield when using Spotted to Bad Moon. Okay, thank you. Thank you, fat-ass Frodo. What's that? I don't think I can say the name of it here without getting super appropriate, but y'all know... Have y'all ever seen the subreddit where it's like the people offering words of wisdom or advice or kindness, but then their Reddit username is something like super offensive, and there's like a whole subreddit dedicated to that idea. And if you guys are enjoying the stream, please consider hitting the like button. It helps out a lot, especially since I had to take a few weeks off because I was super sick, and I was working on a bunch of projects that I'm hopefully going to be bringing you guys soon. So hitting that like button kind of helps spread the stream around. And lets people know that I'm back and starts moving me back into people's recommended tabs. So I would very much appreciate that. If you don't, you get the sword. If you don't, you get the sword. I mean, just look at this thing. Imagine what this could do to a poor person, a poor innocent person who just didn't know better than to hit the like button. I'll let you use your imagination. Alright. So, let's start with the Wood Elves, because they're really simple. We've got 4 units... Yes, 4 units of Way Watchers, 2 units of Sisters of the Thorn, 5 units of Glaive Guard, 2 of which have Hagbane tips. Then, we've got 2 Spell Singers, 1 of which has Beast with Transformation of Canaan, Amber Spear, and a Power Stone. Other one has Melkos with the Power Stone. And then we've got a Glade Lord with Prey of Anathema. That's it. Very simple. Then we got the Goblin Army, which is a little less simple. We've got 4 units of Nasty Skulkers. We've got 2... That doesn't seem right. No, 4 units of Night Goblins, which I missed last time, actually. 4 units of Night Goblins, and we have De Apeak Loonies and De Warlord's Boys. Then we've got 3 units of Goblin Wolf Chariots, one of which is De Teef Robbers. Then we've got 4 units of Night Goblin Squighoppers. 3 units of Night Goblin Archers, one of which is the Rusty Errors. A Night Goblin Shaman with Itchy Nuisance, Gorkle Fix-It, Sneaky Stabbin', and... Not Gorkle Fix-It, Morkle Fix-It. And Vindictive Glare. A single unit of Trolls, Night Goblin Warboss on a Squig Mount with Spited to Bad Moon, Wa, and Tormentor Sword. And I think that's it. So just a ton of goblins versus not that many Wood Elves. Zyphos is going to need to be on his A game. He's going to need to use every arrow to prodigious effect. Because there are so many fucking goblins. They're just gonna eat all that ammo. We'll have to see what happens. I'm really curious how this match is gonna go. Like, Zyphos will be able to strafe, but only with the Way Watchers and the Sisters of the Thorn. Glade Guard can't strafe. They have to, like, sit and shoot. Well, they can fire while moving, but they can't see 360. They only can shoot in a 90-degree arc. Wrong key. Alright, so here we see the initial engagement goes down. The first Prey of Anathema has been dropped, and these Wolf Chariots are gone. They're just gone. Is he going to put a second volley into him? Okay, no, he switched target. That being said, this unit is definitely not gone yet, and they're just going to go laughing all the way to the bank as they run into the Way Watchers and do some free damage. Looks like they are going to get broken off. That unit just got flattened. But, I mean, look at that. That was a full volley set into the Apeak Loonies, and they were just kind of like, putting those silver shields to work. I think the Glade Lord only has, like, 2 Prey of Anathemas? 3 at most? 3, with a 90-second cooldown between. So here we see all the ammo is pouring into the Apeak Loonies, who are unbreakable. So they'll sit and take this until every single model is dead. Unfortunately, it looks like the Wood Elves did predict correctly how the goblins were going to engage with them swinging around this back flank, and they are redressing their army as needed. It's too bad they don't have any hidden units back here. But the Wolf Chariots do pull off safely, and here we see the first of the Nasty Skulkers does come into sight and range. And it literally looks like Gabo is purposefully feeding units into the arrows to try and just get them to go away. So here we see the Hagbane tips are flooding into the 8-peak loonies, who still aren't down to half their models yet, even though their health is sorely depleted. And here we do see the Feral Manticore has been summoned. All the Squig Riders are taking a fair amount of damage. This Manticore could be a bit of a problem because the goblins don't really have... I mean, they have some shooting, but not like a ton. And this is a big scary terror causer. So you see the Squigs are already running for their lives. But the Goblin Archers are firing into them. Zyphos is doing a really good job of focusing down where he needs to. Here we see the 8-peak loonies actually do get dragged into combat by the Sisters of the Thorn, which is really, really good. That should be able to finish them off. If they can, they should really try and fire off a set of Fanatics before they're completely wiped out. That being said, I don't think these Glaive Guard are going to totally make it to safety, because it looks like these Squig Hoppers are going to have their way with that unit. Here we do see the Warlords boys do get in on the Way Watchers, but they break fairly quickly and they are out of here. Wah has been popped, and I think Gabo King is fully committing now. We do see a Itchy Nuisance go down here, but a Shield of Thorns also goes down to counter with defensive play. Oh yeah, that's from the Riders. I was like, I didn't see Shield of Thorns. And we do see the Night Goblin Warboss has popped all of his abilities. He will be able to tank a ton of missile fire, but he won't be able to tank a Manticore. So he does need to be super careful. The balance of power has started to swing significantly into the Wood Elf's favor, though the Spellsinger of Beast does eat a very nasty Itchy Nuisance. I think she may have already popped both of her Manicore summons, though, so that probably... I mean, she does have Ember Spear, so I guess that wasn't a terrible decision. Here we see the Sisters of the Thorn have charged into the Night Goblin Archers, and the Troll is doing its best to... boom! Oh, that Beast Wizard's gone. The Sisters of the Thorn did ride in to try and deal with these archers, but they were stabilized by the assistance of the trolls. Looks like they are kind of ping-ponging around trying to catch stuff. One of the Sisters of units has been caught by these nasty skulkers, but they are taking a fair amount of damage. That being said, the balance of power has started to tip back into Gabo King's favor. If this Beast Wizard runs all the way off the field, that could potentially be really, really good for Gabo. But not good for Gabo is that his general has been caught by the Feral Manticore, and it looks like he's stabilizing, but these trolls really need to help him out. He needs to get this Manticore off the field. If he can get rid of the Manticore, he should be able to stabilize this part of the battlefield, but he also needs to pull his general back, because if his general dies, his leadership structure is going to be in pretty serious threat due to the Gabo King, or the Gabos being super isolated. But here, we do see that these Squig Hoppers have caught the Shadow Spellsinger, and she is taking a ton of damage. She does manage to get off a Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma before she breaks, but she is broken. And these Squigs will happily escort her off the battlefield, especially with a Gorkle Fix-It, reducing her speed by 48%. The Wood Elves are very, very nearly out of ammo. There's still a near full unit of trolls riding around, and they are all too happy to bring the slams down. And the thing about the trolls is, it's not a big deal if the trolls break and come back, as long as they don't die. That's the kind of the thing. Here we do see a second Wah goes off, which is going to be, of course, providing buffs. The Beast Wizard actually managed to rally, but the Shadow Wizard's definitely dead. We do see the Goblins are managing to pick apart bit by bit aspects of the army. Here we see the Warlords boys have rallied, and they're trying to get back into these archers, but they just can't quite make it before they get taken out. But here there is a ton of shooting units still standing, happily I might add. And over here we have the Nasty Skulkers with the Night Goblin Warboss killing these Glade Guard, getting them out of here. These Way Watchers are out of ammo. These Way Watchers are out of ammo. These Glade Guards still have ammo, but oh no, it's the T-Frabas! But they do manage to turn around in time, and they blow up one of the chariots. But the chariot still manages to connect and do a little bit of damage, which I think for the goblins, every piece of damage counts. Here we do see the Glade Lord is leading the Sisters of the Thorn into a desperate final gambit, trying to bring down the goblins. Which, I mean, if a Vindictive Glare comes out... Oh, but look at this! Really, really nice catch here from the Way Watchers. They actually managed to discover the Night Goblin Shaman and are doing a ton of damage to him. He needs to get the hell out of there. He does pop the Madcap Mushroom. It looks like he's desperately trying to get his Wand of Jet back active so he can maybe do something with it. But here, we see that the leadership structure for the goblins is about to go down. There is enough ammo here for them to easily kill him. And now the Night Goblin Shaman has been caught out. The Way Watchers, though, do pay the price as this Squig Herd catches them. That Night Goblin Shaman has to rally, which he does. I don't know if the goblins are going to be able to come back from their general dying. We do see a Vindictive Glare going down here. He's trying to dodge it, and he kind of dodges some of it. He still takes a fair amount of damage, but I think that Goblin Warboss dying is actually going to be the death keel for the goblins. Like, the balance of power is still surprisingly in their favor, but their whole army is broken, and Gabo has seceded the game there. But what a really... That was a really interesting game. That was a very interesting game. Gabo King played that super well, and he had pressure on Xiphos' Wood Elves the entire time, ran out most of his ammo. It literally just came down to the Night Goblin Warboss. He didn't last. He lasted just not long enough, and Xiphos managed to find the Night Goblin Shaman and take him out. I think if the Night Goblin Shaman, I think if Gabo had fired off a Vindictive Glare and then moved him so that his position wasn't known, you know, fire a spell, move him back into stealth, fire a spell, just keep moving far away. I think Gabo would have had that, honestly, because I think his leadership structure got attacked at the end. But Xiphos played so well, keeping his archers really, really spread out and taking advantage of every possible moment and making every arrow count. He was doing so good, switching off and firing from troop to troop to troop to troop. Did a really, really good job. That Beast Wizard played a pivotal role not fleeing off the battlefield. If that Beast Wizard had run off the battlefield and the Shadow Wizard had died and the Glade Lord had taken all that damage, I really think Gabo would have won this. It was close. It was a very, very close game. Good game from both players. Great game from both players. All right, and with that, we are on to today's finals. We have Xiphos versus Dov Plays. Bloop. Which neither of these individuals have won this tournament before. So we've got the Vampire Coast, who have won this tournament at least 3 or 4 times. They are easily the strongest army in the game right now, and it shows. Up against the Wood Elves, who have never won a tabletop tournament before. Never. No one has managed to pull it off. Xiphos may be the first. So once Dov gets in here, we will head off to the final map for today, which we are going to... is that... No, I don't want to go to that map for the finals. We will go to... That one will work. Castle Drakenhof. Daddy's Girl donating $5 super chat says, "Hey Sotek, love the energy and the content in your lore videos were huge to help me learn characters, especially Archaon Match for storytelling. What's my favorite movie?" Well, thank you very, very much for the $5 super chat donation. My favorite movie? Favorite movie. I think a movie I could sit down and watch an endless amount of times is probably Reign of Fire, actually. It's probably my favorite movie and my favorite video game based on a movie. Rain of Fire was on the GameCube. I played that game to death. Every time I'd go on a road trip. I love Rain of Fire. I was a huge nerd for dragons when I was a kid, and I felt like that was really the first movie I ever saw that really pulled off dragons really well and made them believable creatures. Yeah, I'd have to go with Rain of Fire. Hey Sotek, what was the difference between Counts and Coast in original Tabletop? Vampire Coast had a lot of shooting, but they had no elite infantry. None. Like, none of that, they didn't have the depth guard, they didn't have, they didn't have the, rotting Prometheans. They had nothing for, elite infantry. They could pew pew, and that was it. That was their gimmick. They were not a competitive army. Alright guys, so this is today's final match. We've got the Wood Elves, who I think in the 9 or 10 times we've had a tabletop tournament, the Wood Elves have never managed to claim victory. Every time they played, they lost. And so let's see if Zyphos can pull it home. He's got 4 units of Weight Watchers, 2 units of Sisters of the Thorn, 5 units of Glade Guard, 2 of which are Hagbane tips. He's got a Spellsinger of Shadows with Power Stone and Melkots, a Spellsinger of Beasts with Amber Spear, Transformation of Caden, Power Stone, and then a Glade Lord with Prey of Anathrema. And then for the Vampire Coast, we've got 3 units of Fellbats, the Gallows Giant, a Carronade, 5 units of Zombie Pyro Deckhand Mobs with Polearms, 3 units of Zombie Pyro Deckhand Mobs. We've got the Lamprey's Revenge. We've got Count Noctilus with all of his summon and heal goodies. Then we got 3 units of guns, handguns, one of which is the Black Spot. This is gonna be a ringer. The Wood Elves do not have a lot of answers to Noctilus other than just mass shooting him down. But I think Dov knows exactly what he's doing, and that he's probably gonna hide this. He's gonna hide Noctilus in this forest where he can't be seen. And if anything gets close enough to expose him, these 3 units are going to open fire and tear them to shreds. And meanwhile, this Carronade, if it draws a bead on any of the characters or the Sisters of the Thorn, this Carronade could do massive damage. Lamprey's Revenge will also need to be careful, though. They have a lot of armor, but that ain't going to mean jack against the Weight Watchers. He does have 2 Manticores for the artillery. That's true. That's true. And the Gallows Giant definitely will be quite vulnerable to the Weight Watchers. And for anyone curious, this is today's last match. This is the finals. We're actually running really well today on schedule. I think we're going to be done before 100 minutes. Normally this lasts for about 2 hours, but we had a couple games today that were just... Alright, and we're off. Now, for those unfamiliar with the format of rules, because we use the King's Cup rules, which were written by Shetland Apache, both players are considered to be attackers, so that means both players have to play vaguely aggressive, so they have to, like, move towards each other. Here we see that the Wood Elves have carefully positioned themselves so that none of them are exposed to the Carronade, but that's not going to last forever, obviously, as the Fellbats will happily expose people. Here we do see that the Glade Guard are opening fire on the Zombie Pyro Deckhand Mob, but the Zombie Pyro Deckhand Mob are actually getting a really nice amount of cover from this stone here. Here we do see the Carronade has opened fire on the Glade Guard, and every kill is going to hurt a little bit. And I mean, Dov can afford to take these losses. He can summon 5 units with Count Noctilus at a massive range. So, like, if he loses a couple units of zombies, who cares? This is where the real fight is, though. We've got Count Noctilus is shooting versus the Weight Watchers. who of course do have stock on their side, so they're able to sneak up. But Dov has a really nice base of operations here, and these guys can heal. These guys can't. Here, though, it looks like we do see the Sisters of the Thorn and the command structure are running around to hopefully deal with Noctilus or take out this Carronade. This Carronade needs to change onto the Sisters of the Thorn, like, now. Here we do see that the Manticore summon has been popped, and it looks like all the shooting units are focusing the Sisters of the Thorn, who can eat a lot of damage. But the Way Watchers are going to potentially be able to kill these guys in just a few volleys. Michael Henvey, thank you so much for the €5. No message with it, but thank you, man. I appreciate it. Here, though, we do see Noctilus pulling his usual shenanigans of the 200-meter summon with his Moon Dial. And the Sisters of the Thorn actually get a really nice charge into these Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs. Unfortunately for Dov, they're not the black spot. Over here, the Manticore does jump in on the Carronade, but the Lamprey's Revenge are quick to respond. And they manage to shoot it with their hand cannons enough times that it has Rampage. It looks like it's attacking the Lamprey's Revenge, not the Carronade, which is not going to be good for the Manticore. Over here, though, we do see the Sisters of the Thorn are trying to trade fire with the Gallows Giant, which is probably not the best fight for them. The Gallows Giant is certainly slower than them, but he's got handguns on top that are going to be able to land hits on them. Looks like the zombie army over there is being torn apart. Here we see a really nice Ray Storm coming down on the Sisters of Thorn, doing a ton of damage. Noctilus is getting personally engaged, tearing people apart limb from limb. He gets down another summon, and things are not looking good for the Wood Elves in this little department here. Looks like the Sisters of the Thorn are retreating, but the Glade Lord is stuck or hasn't been given the order to retreat yet. She needs to be careful. Noctilus can easily bring her down in probably 3 or 4 hits. Like, yeah, I mean, look at that. She's down to probably 55, 60% health, and Noctilus has hit her twice. Looks like she has decided it is time to get the hell out of dodge, and she does manage to break free and put some good distance. Noctilus does need to pull back into safety. If he gets too exposed, the Way Watchers could hop on him and do some pretty nasty damage. Meanwhile, we do see a very nice volley of guns opening fire into the Glade Lord, knocking her down to about 50% health, and she doesn't have any heals available. The Way Watchers did manage to shake off the Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs, who do need to pursue from the backside if they can. Oh, and look at this! Noctilus actually gets caught outside of the forest perfectly by Prey of Anathema. 2 volleys? Oh, he's super low. He's got upgraded Invocation of the Heck on him. He's pulling back into the forest. He summoned a unit using his Moon Dial. Oh! But with the Prey of Anathema no longer on him, he takes significantly less damage and does pull back into the safety of the forest. But it is not over yet. The Wood Elves are coming for him, and they are unleashing everything they got in a final gambit to bring him down. He's still got massive debuffs from the Curse of Honor here. Here he's summoning a unit to try and protect him. The Manticore is unbreakable, though, so it's going to fight to the bitter end, and Noctilus goes down! Oh my gosh. That 3 Way Watcher volleys, 2 of which when he had the low missile resistance, Noctilus is down, and without Noctilus alive to hold the rest of the army together, there's no way. So that's all it was. It was Xiphos just waiting for the perfect opportunity. He got Noctilus caught out, and Noctilus dropped like a sack of hammers. And that is game. So, great game to both players. Very, very interesting series. Yeah, Dov tipped out at that point. Understandably, I don't really think there's anything he could have done. Like, there were still 4 units of Way Watchers with ammo and 5 units of Glade Guard with ammo. Like, what are you going to do? So that is going to put Xiphos, and for the first time, the Wood Elves, up on the champions table. So congratulations to Xiphos for pulling off the win. It wasn't I wouldn't say it was easy for him. Gobbo King's army had him on the ropes. Like, Gobbo King actually had the balance of power against him and was pushing the balance of power back in his favor. And then Xiphos finally managed to catch the Goblin War Boss and kill him. And at the same time caught the Goblin Shaman. And that 1-2 combo managed to actually break the Goblin leadership. And even in that Noctilus game, if Noctilus had, like, if he had mistimed that Prey of Anathrema and Noctilus had been behind a tree or hiding inside of a unit or anything, then Noctilus could have easily survived that barrage. The only way Xiphos was, like, Xiphos needed to catch Noctilus out, or Noctilus could have easily out-sustained him. Because you can use all the shooting you want in the world, but if Noctilus gets off all 5 of his summons and he's using Invocation of the Heck constantly, nothing you can do. Like, especially because Noctilus has such a massive impact on the balance of power that if he is alive, you cannot beat the Vampire Coast. Even if he's the last one away. And Dov was literally seconds away from getting Noctilus into safety and healing back to like half health, and he would have been fine. But Xiphos followed up immediately with that Manticore summon, and that Manticore summon is unbreakable. So it got down there, and Dov even hit it with the Discouraged Flamethrower attack, but it's unbreakable, so it just didn't give a shit. And it managed to hit Noctilus like 3 times. It was a very close game, despite the fact that once Noctilus dropped, it was like, okay, it's over. But if Xiphos' Gambit there had failed, I think Xiphos would have lost the game, like, instantly. Because Xiphos was running out of ammo. And the Goblin game was super close, and the Dark Elf game was really close. So there were a lot of really good games. This week had some very brutal armies compared to prior weeks. So, anyway, thank you all for watching. My throat is already kind of scratchy because I haven't done this in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's been a while. So thank you everyone for joining me today. The tabletop tourneys will be resuming on their regular schedule starting this week. So every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. For this week, the week after that, there will not be a tournament because I have to go. I have to go somewhere, so I won't be around for a bit. But in any event, I want to thank you all again so much for watching. We are back in action. Do you guys take viewer submitted games? Do you mean Total War Warhammer games? In that case, yeah, you can send them to me on my Discord, and I can consider casting them. My Let's Plays should be continuing tomorrow. We are going to be beginning an Age of Mythology playthrough this week, because that's something a lot of people voted for and really pushed really hard for. So we're going to do that, and then other stuff is going to be happening. So in any event, thank you all for watching. St. Augustine, I'm just going to be out of town. I have to go, so I have to take care of some stuff. But, anyway, thank you again all for watching, and I will see you around. Bye, guys. Oh, yeah. Lore stuff coming soon. And congrats to Xiphos again for winning with his super shitty Wood Elf build. It was fun to watch. Thanks, guys.